Hi, welcome back to my channel. My name is Allie and welcome to my August wrap up. August was a weird month. In my opinion, August was never ending. I have such a weird feeling of frustration for my reading in August, but when I look at my average rating, it's like a 4.2, which is excellent. And I didn't rate anything under a 3-star. So I don't know what's going on. Maybe it's because I started a bunch of books that I didn't end up finishing. Maybe it's because I started a lot of vlogs that I didn't end up finishing. It's pretty interesting. Would I rather have better books or better videos? A booktube dilemma. As a reader, I'd rather have better books. So I'm gonna shut up and get into it. I'm gonna go from least to highest rating, lowest to highest rating. I can't speak. Let's go. Also, side note, I'm using this mic because this is the mic I usually use on my camera. There's like a shock mount that you attach this part to the camera, and I cannot get it unscrewed for the life of me. I've like shredded my fingers this morning trying to unscrew it. So I just bought another one. It wasn't in the budget. So yikes. I had to complain about something in the video, okay? There we go. We got that out of the way. I ended up reading 11 books. My lowest rated book was House of the Beast. It was a 3-star, and I think it could be the most beautiful book I have here, at least in terms of like detail. We've got a holographic image, very intricate sprayed edges, and like a beautiful, cool naked hardback that I can't stretch and talk to show you. Here, hold on. Ta-da! This is a story of revenge. It's a fantasy book. We start when our girl is 11 years old. Her mom ends up getting very ill, and so our main character reaches out to her birth father, who she's never met and she just found out the identity of. He's a pretty powerful dude in another house. And when I say house, I mean like Targaryens, the Lannisters, the North, that kind of thing. He shows up to take this girl away. He says that if she goes with him, he will get care for her mother. But when you join this house, you have to sacrifice like part of you. So he chops her arm off, like immediately. Just, and guess what? Her mom dies anyway. This isn't a synopsis. This is on the flap of the book. Gag of the century. Each of the houses serve a god, and she befriends this god in this house. Together, they're going to enact revenge on everyone in this house and perhaps people everywhere. During the book, we have a big time jump to when she's 19 years old. She's been training, and she sort of joins this competition to become like a fighter for her house. But really, like, she's scheming and planning to get her revenge. I was so excited to read this because I want a revenge story. I want ruthless, unapologetic father killing. I'm sorry, I just want it. Especially for cutting your arm off and killing your mom, basically. Like, I think he okay. And as great as this setup was, they just didn't lean in enough to the evil. It turned into a morality story that was very basic. There were some things I really liked about it. A lot of the description was wonderful. There's also some little illustrations all throughout the book if you're reading the physical copy. First of all, the beginning of every chapter has this header. It makes me want to get my color pens. What are they called? Color pencils. I've been out of school too long. But there's actual like illustrations all throughout the book, and that was nice. Likewise, the descriptions through the words on the page were wonderful as well. There was a lot of action scenes. I'm not a huge fan of those. That's just a personal preference. All in all, I was underwhelmed. But I think many people would love this, so give it a try if it's on your radar. I won't be getting rid of this. She's too gorgeous. So I guess thanks for that. Next up, we have a 5-star prediction. First of all, there are 4 5-star predictions in this stack of books, and none of them were 5 stars. Maybe that's why I'm disappointed, but like 2 of them were 4.5s, which is basically the same thing. This one ended up being a little bit more disappointing than those. It's a 3.5 though, not bad at all. It's a good book, which is obvious because so many of you love this book, and I completely understand why. This is Blood Over Brighthaven. This is a fantasy book. We are following mostly this woman named Sayana. She's taking this test, and she's the only woman to ever pass the test and become a mage. Of course, all of her coworkers and pretty much everyone in this nation, are misogynistic and awful toward her. They don't treat her well. And so you'd think that she would treat other people well because she's not being treated well, but she's a fucking racist. I'm sorry. In this story, there are people called Quen, and they are tribespeople that live outside of the borders of this city. One of the other characters, we get a couple points of view from him. His name, Tommel. We love Tommel. We actually start the book off with Tommel. He is fleeing from this thing called the Blight and trying to get into the city because the blight stops there. And this blight thing, it sounds like it would look beautiful. It's like this shimmering, almost ribbon, and it literally shreds you to ribbons. And he watches as his entire tribe is stripped away, skin by muscle. It's just like very graphic and like, ow. He grabs his niece and he makes it by like a hair into this city, and they're about to throw him back in. The city's so fucked. Anyway, in the present day, Sayana ends up getting Tommel as her assistant. Her peers are making a joke because Tommel's actually a janitor at this university, and so they won't let her have a regular assistant. They're like, here, take the janitor. Ha ha ha. Except for Tommel is a smart man. Sayana is almost immediately rude to him, but they also almost immediately become besties. And it's just a very, very frustrating character Sayana is, and it's very purposeful. Like, she's meant to be construed as fucking... So on that point, the author like did a great job. I hate this bitch. But also, you do see the struggle that she has with her misogyny that she's dealing with, which, to be honest, that just makes me more annoyed at her, that she should understand. Don't get me started. The two of them are working on mage stuff. The magic system is not my personal favorite. You type things into a typewriter, it comes out. It's a whole thing. They go into great detail. It was gibberish the entire time. I didn't really clock in. It was also sort of based on religion. It was like a science religion combo, which I think is just not a thing that could work. I don't know. It's one of the reasons it's not a higher rating, but I do know several people who really like specifically enjoyed this type of magic. So don't let that dissuade you. The two of them, as they're doing this, they discover a big fat secret, and I can't tell you anything more than that. Obviously, this was a frustrating read, but surprisingly, that's not what's lowering my rating, because I do see that it is like frustrating on purpose. I think the thing lowering my rating the most is that this is a very straightforward story. You see it all the time. Someone has to step up and save the day and uncover secrets. And because I've read that 100 times, I'm a little impatient with it, and other things have to come in to really wow me. Like the character themselves have to be rich, and I get a lot out of people having relationships, like if they're fighting for their family, if they have friends, love interests, that kind of thing. I need like a human connection, not just me to the character, but characters between other characters. Or the writing specifically has to be strange, constructed in a kind of different way, extra lyrical, something that stands out, you know? Or there has to be a huge twist. But to me, this seems just pretty straightforward. Plus, I hated the characters, except for I really like Tommel. And it's not that I need likable characters, it's just like this character, ugh. She is supposed to be frustrating. She's described as an asshole, and that comes off. But there is a point where we sort of shift, and I think she's supposed to be seen as like a good person. And I just, like, I liked hating her when we were supposed to hate her, but then we were supposed to love her. No. No! And I think that's the difference between, okay, this is a left field comment here, like Blair and Serena. Blair is insufferable, except for she's supposed to be insufferable. We know, she knows that she's insufferable. Serena is supposed to be a fucking angel. Well, except when she fucks up. But even then, it's supposed to be like this very human, sympathetic story, empathetic story. Except everyone hates Serena because she thinks she's perfect. And she's not. And if she just owned it a little bit more like Blair did, I'm sorry I'm pitting two girls against each other, but they're also besties, so they're gonna be fine, okay? And I think that's why Blair's character is more fun and more memorable and more beloved, even though she is a fucked up person. And that's also why Serena gets so much flack. Flack is such a funny word. Anyway, this is Serena to me. She's Serena. Not just this character, this whole book is Serena. So does that make sense? This is the type of analytical conversation I bring to the table. This is Serena van der Woodsen. Again, 3.5, it was good. Like, that's a book that I would recommend to other people. I recommend this book. Lots of people love Serena van der Woodsen. Allie, stop talking about Gossip Girl. Highly recommend for other people, just was not for me. Next up, I have the graphic novel edition of The Raven Boys. I'm giving this a 4, but mostly because I love this series. I was trying as I read it to imagine picking this up just as a random book, and I think it would have done an okay job explaining some of the things, but it's missing a lot of the magic. And this is a paranormal YA, so magic is required. For those of you that don't know what the Raven Boys are, you should read the book First of all, do it. It's about a group of teenagers. There's 4 boys and 1 girl named Blue, and they team up together on this quest to find the sleeping king. I don't care about the kings. I care about these characters and all the shenanigans that they get up to, specifically surrounding this forest in their town. There's lots of tarot cards in this series. There's lots of weird, unexplainable. Oh, I'm thinking about the second book. This is my favorite in the series. I just can't get enough, and I can't wait for them to make that one. I'll be purchasing all of these graphic novels if they continue to make them. I don't see why they wouldn't. But like, all this really did for me was make me want to reread the book, which was a happy feeling. So that's why it's getting 4 stars. Next up, this is a book I didn't vlog. Well, I did vlog it. It just didn't make it to YouTube because I had planned for an entire weekend to read my least anticipated books, like books on my bookshelf that I like look at and I kind of just like, I didn't see you there. I was using a number generator and this one came up and she ended up being a 4-star. This is Modern Lovers by Emma Straub. This is a story about quite a few characters, 2 families basically. There's a couple generations and they're all friends and they have been for years and years. The parents, that generation, there are 3 of them and they were all in a band together in college. There was a 4th member, but she died. And the dead girl, she ended up getting really big by herself and using one of their songs. And now they're all rich because of it. They're like in their late 40s now, so they've been friends for a long time. 2 of them are married. They seem to have a pretty normal marriage. They have a son. And then the 3rd member of the band, she has a wife and they seem to be on the rocks and they have a daughter. You see as their relationship in their marriages, but also between each other, kind of ebb and flow during this summer. And a lot of the reason things are changing are because their kids end up dating for the summer. And it is funny, but not in a ha-ha kind of way. It's kind of just like a little smirk. This is a very slow-paced, almost slice of life book. People are just living their lives, and it's the kind of thing where even though stressful situations happen, things that aren't great happen, they're just gonna deal with it, and it's not a stressful book. It's just like, oh, I'm just gonna keep reading at a super steady pace and then I'll jump off the ride. I enjoy those kinds of stories. I don't like being stressed, which is funny because some of the books that I read that I gave higher ratings to, I was stressed the fuck out. So maybe I have to rethink that. It was very relaxing. Now, this was written, I think, like 10 years ago, and there are some things that I think really signify its decline in, what am I saying? There's some outdated shit in here. Nothing like truly offensive, although who am I to say? But it definitely felt like it was written 10 years ago. There is a little bit of drama with this dead bandmate. We find out how she died pretty quickly. It's definitely not a mystery. They just like get up and tell you. But you kind of see this dead character weaving in and out throughout this story. Her past, her ties to the other bandmates, and even her future, because I think they're trying to make like a movie out of her story. So yeah, a very steady, suburban, almost rich people story. They are in Brooklyn though, and the setting was pretty well described. I did enjoy that. Next up we have Ghostroots by Pemi Aguda. I'm giving this 4.25, maybe even a 4.5 upon reread. These are short stories. Also, sorry for pointing out that this is not a scarf. A few of you were shocked, and I'm sorry for that. I still love her. I think this is classified as horror. It's the kind of horror where it's almost psychologically, emotionally horror. Emotional horror? There is some blood on the page. There is some slightly weird, eerie things happening, but it's mostly like the horror of life. You know, I think a lot of you would classify this as horror that's not horror. I think there's like 12 stories and they do fit pretty well with each other. A lot of them have very similar things going on, but at the same time, they're all so unique. A lot of themes that I picked up on, there's a lot of talk about mother-daughter and a lot of possession in here, even just small amounts of possession, or even just someone thinks someone is possessed. And the mother-daughter stuff was very interesting because there is like an attachment in these stories where we explore that, but there's also this horrible, quiet, eerie, horrific resentment, guilt. The author was definitely exploring a lot of that. Another thing that was in a lot of the stories was community. So like we often hear about neighborhoods coming together for good or for worse. There's this one story where in this neighborhood, only the sons are killed by this mysterious disease. And that goes into sort of the speculative nature of this book. Not all of it is speculative. And even the speculative things aren't really focusing on that, like this mysterious illness that only only kills boys. That's pretty weird. But we're not really trying to figure out like why these weird things are happening. And even a lot of the stories where weird things are happening, there's no comment on them. It's just like, oh, that's just a thing. We're focusing on how it affects the people in these families, in these communities. And for that, I just was really affected emotionally by this book, and I really, really liked it. I also just think the writing was really well done. Again, it was like eerie, but there were some funny moments as well. It was a bummer of a collection though, like a lot of just loneliness and sadness and grief. The only reason it's getting a 4.25 is that a couple of the stories just didn't hit for me. A couple of the stories actually felt very similar to each other. And then there were some stories where like I didn't know where we were going, and it ended not abruptly. It just didn't seem, well, I guess it was abrupt. See, I love an ambiguous ending. So if you don't enjoy that, I don't think you would love this collection. It's definitely like a bird's eye view, like a little swoop down, look at this story and get on out of here. There is still a way to end those stories, and I think most of the time this author did it perfectly, capital P. But then there were other times where I think they were really excited for what the story was and the weird / horrible feeling that it gave you of loneliness, and then they didn't know how to wrap it up. That's just what it felt like for a couple of the stories. But overall, I think this is a phenomenal collection. Again, one that I will be rereading. I might skip a couple, but my favorite stories, honestly, the first one, I still can't get it out of my head. It was a perfect opener. It's called Manifest, and it's where this woman, her mother is so sure that she sees her mother in this young girl's face, and she starts treating her like her mother. You're wondering the whole time, like, wait, is this a sort of possession, or is this some sort of grief talking? I don't know. I just loved how on edge I was, but also curious. I couldn't look away, but also by the end I was like, I wanted to look away, but like in a good way. And then Things Boys Do. That was a weird story. This was a story about 3 grown men who end up having babies. And God, I can't tell you what happens. It's a pretty short story for a short story, but there's a connection between all of them that you don't find out until almost the end. It was good, okay? And that goes for the entire collection as a whole. Just wonderful, wonderful work. I'll definitely be checking out what this author has next. Oh shit, I forgot to talk about another. I gave this 4.25. This is Paul Tremblay's middle grade debut, I'm pretty sure. And this was so good. It's a story about, I think, a middle school boy. He has a good relationship with his parents, and his older sister's away at college, but they still talk all the time. He doesn't have a great school life. He has been bullied very badly because he has tics, so he doesn't have many friends. It's actually super, super fucking sad and disappointing. And one day, his mom gets a call on the phone. It's apparently a classmate's dad. He asks if the classmate can come over to play. The mom says yes, and the boy's like, what? This super creepy dude shows up with like a sack. He opens the sack, and this like claymation boy comes out, or like a clay. He's like gray and just like not even formed, and he can't speak. The parents get under this spell, and they see this clay boy as like a real boy, but our main character is like, excuse me? And the clay boy's dad leaves, and he's like, okay, well, I'll come back in a week. He can stay that long, right? And the parents are like, yeah, that's great. And our character's like, excuse me? It was very creepy, but also wholesome. I liked how this clay boy was handled. I think it was so nuanced. It wasn't really straightforward. I mean, it is a middle grade book, so it's a little bit straightforward, but I liked the way it was handled. I thought some of the description was truly terrifying. There was one scene in particular at night where I was like, I am like freaked out. It was so fun, so good, heart-touching, heartwarming, touching, all of the above. I think just a solid story. If you like Coraline, I think you would like this book. That's probably the easiest comp title. Next up was my Patreon buddy read, Margo's Got Money Troubles. Oh my God, I was stressed out reading this. I didn't realize this was like, but it was also very funny, also emotionally like, oh, in both a aw kind of way, but also like a kind of way. So we have our main character, Margo. She is a new mother, and you find out like all about how she gets pregnant, who she gets pregnant with. She hooks up with her English professor. It's always the fucking English professors. She decides to have the baby, and he ghosts her pretty much. She is very much struggling. She can't keep her job because she can't afford a sitter. Her roommates move out, so now she has like her rent even more expensive. Her mom is completely useless. It's just a fucking mess. It was so stressful in the beginning, and let me tell you, it gets even more stressful. So she gets a knock on her door from her biological father. He's sort of been in and out of her life. So he was consistently coming back, which, you know, is a lot more than I could say for some fathers. But it is a weird like distance between them. Anyway, he shows up. He needs a place to live. He's going to help take care of the baby so that she can juggle working, and he's going to pay some rent. She ends up creating an OnlyFans, and her character on OnlyFans, she does like a whole thing, and she uses a lot of her dad's work to like, this sounds weird, to inspire her to be more creative on there. He was like a pro wrestler, so he had like a whole persona that he did, and it was really interesting in this book listening to her talk to him about tactic, like persona tactic. I learned about like what a heel was, and it's so funny, since learning that word heel in this context, I've heard it so many times this month. I love it when reading does that. Her character in OnlyFans ends up being so fun. She's like an alien, and you know how I feel about the aliens. And listening to her like make these TikTok things, we actually get like not a script per se, but we get a story of some of the TikToks that she does, and they are so bizarre. I love them. I would watch them. Let's see what I can tell you about the rest of this book, because I want to share why it's so stressful, but I don't know that I can. I can't tell you. All that I can tell you is that people try Margo. It tried my nerves, and I really ended up caring about these characters. My battery's dying. Hold on. But yeah, there was also a really found family aspect to this that made my little heart just like, ah. I think this is honestly a great book to read. There are a few flaws. I think the author goes into a lot of detail about things that don't matter. Like, there's a couple pages where she explains the game Fortnite without saying that it's Fortnite, and then like the next chapter she says it, and I laughed because I was like, that's what we were talking about? But it's like, why did she go into that much detail describing it? I don't know. She does that with a few things, and she complains a lot about like the OnlyFans algorithm and search bar and how it's hard for people to get discovered on there. And I get that she was doing it because Margo had to find like other ways to get traffic in, but also it wasn't just like one time that she talked in length about it. It was several times, and I was like, okay, we get that you're annoyed, but maybe just call customer service. I don't know. This is a 4.5. This was so fun. I read it so quickly, mostly because I wanted the stress to be over, but also like was so invested. I can't wait to watch the movie. I love Elle Fanning. I love Michelle Pfeiffer, I think. Nicole Kidman's in it. Ron Swanson is the Oh, I also really liked how they handled substance abuse in this book. I like the discussion of it. It's a really nuanced topic that I really love reading about in my books. So yeah, it was just a phenomenal book in my opinion. Next up, Martyr. This is a 4.5, which is wonderful. Like almost a perfect book for me, except for I thought this would be my favorite book of the year. And that's what I'm saying. It's like, I hate having expectations of things because even if it is such a great time, I do feel a little disappointed. Out of 4.5, that's like, Allie, get it together. This is a literary fiction book. It's a hard book to say what it's about. We're following Cyrus, but we're also following a few other characters in Cyrus's life, but he's like the main event. He's in his 20s. He's also dealing with substance abuse issues. He's currently sober. Anytime he talked about that, I loved it so much. It seemed to be some of the most honesty that this character in particular showed, but also the writing around it. The writing is objectively phenomenal. It was approachable, yet often lyrical. Excellent writing. I'm excited to read more from this author. Cyrus as a character ended up being the most annoying part of this book, which again, when I talk about books and characters being annoying, like this is supposed to be a frustrating character, an annoying character. He's rather pretentious, I should say. He's not annoying. He is fascinated by death, and the way he was talking about it was just a little irritating. And it was irritating to every single person around him, so I don't feel bad in saying that. He's been obsessed with death forever. His mother died very tragically in a true thing that happened in real life. There was like a plane that was struck down by the US Navy, and it was just a plane full of passengers traveling to different countries. And I guess the Navy just thought it was a enemy, and they just blew it up. And the US was pretty much just like, whoops, my bad. It was upsetting to read about that, and then I googled it because there was so much detail about it. I was like, this has to be real. Unfortunately, it was. That is insane to me, and I cannot imagine like a family member dying in that way. And that's what happened. Cyrus's mother died in that plane crash when he was an infant, and so all throughout his life he's thought about this, and he's been so angry about it, which like obviously I would be too. And he keeps stressing that like she died for nothing, and so his idea of death, he keeps talking about how his death needs to be powerful in order to touch other people's lives, which doesn't sound that bad. I feel like I've had a lot of conversations only with dudes, I'm gonna say, about how they want to die in battle. They want to like die going out fighting and screaming and super powerful. I don't know. That to me is just really horrible and sad in some way of escape and like crawling away in defeat. It's not like, whereas like Cyrus, he specifically says that he's like at a low. He thinks no one gives a shit about him, even though he's surrounded by people who love and care about him. But he has had a lot of shitty things happen to him. He's down here and he doesn't want to die until he's up here. I can't imagine that. I feel like when I want to die and I'm down here, like I want to die down here. And the only thing stopping me is the possibility from getting up here. And then okay, I'm gonna move on. Other people call him out on this, especially his friend Z, who is one of my favorite characters. I think my second favorite character in this book. At one point, Z snaps at him and he's like, you're always talking about no one gives a shit about you and how you have nothing. And Z's like, I'm right here. Yeah, that was a great conversation. A lot of this book is set in Brooklyn. Cyrus finds out that there's this woman in a museum there that is dying of terminal cancer, and she is going to be sat at this museum talking to other people until she dies. And he's like, I have to talk to her because he's going to be writing this book about martyrs. He gets there, he tells her about this, and she basically rolls her eyes at him. Probably because she doesn't want to die. I can't imagine people with terminal cancer wants to listen to a young man say, I want to die so badly, and what you're doing here is so great. Cyrus. And she laughs at him, she hands it to him, but she also has some of the best conversations with him. That was my absolute favorite part of this book, the conversations between Orkita and Cyrus. What I didn't realize is that we get points of view from other people. We got it from Z, his friend. We get the point of view of his mother back in the day before she died, his father, oh God bless his soul, and Cyrus's uncle. So yeah, this was excellently written. I really, really loved in particular the chapters where we go back into time and we get the other characters and their points of view. Those stories seem so broad and deep and rich in atmosphere. Like the inner monologues that were happening in those chapters were just amazing. And then we'd go back to Cyrus and he'd be like, no one cares about me, surrounded by people that love him. Ugh. Again, I think it's super purposeful. There were also these chapters that were really interesting. They were surreal and they were like these dreams that Cyrus had. One of them had like one of the Simpsons characters in it, but also people from his life. His dead mother would come to him in his dreams and there'd be complete dialogue. It was like a complete story. So that was pretty cool construction wise, but also there were a few times where I'm like, I think I'm too stupid to understand the significance of this. The ending was very, very, very ambiguous, and it was funny because as I was reading the ending, I was like, oh, okay, that's fine. And then I started thinking about it more like as I was finishing it up, and I'm just like, oh, wow. Can't talk to you about it, but it fucked me up a little bit. It was like very late at night that I was reading it too, and it felt like scary in a human way. Like I felt like this pit in my stomach, just like, I did go on Reddit and read some other people's theories, and it's fascinating how ambiguous this ended up being. I have a theory of my own, and I don't like it. I don't like my theory. I want to take it back. This is definitely a book though that I will be rereading, and I will see, it's funny, rereading books with frustrating characters is so much easier than reading it the first time. But also Cyrus wasn't that frustrating. He just seemed like a pretentious in his 20s graduate student with like a chip on his shoulder. I can get past that. Anyway, phenomenal book. Highly recommend. Next up, I read Beartown, another 5-star prediction. This one is like a 4.75, which is crazy because in my vlog I said that I wish I hadn't read it, and you know what? I think that might be true still. This punched me in the face and it didn't say sorry. And you need to check your content warnings because I had an idea of what was gonna happen, and then I was like, oh wait, I don't think it's gonna happen, and then it did happen, and it wasn't vague. It was very much on page in descriptive detail, and I was not prepared to read it. So definitely check content warnings. This is a book about a very small town. It's a hockey obsessed town, and not just hockey, but like teenage hockey. Do they have an adult league? Like, what is their obsession with this? Okay. Sorry. This is another super frustrating book. Like the community, so these teenage boys are almost like they're idols in this community, for good and for bad, mostly for bad in the case that we're going to talk about in a second. But something happens after this semi-final game, truly horrific, had me bawling. And it's funny because I think that was like halfway through, but I flew through the first half because I knew something was going to happen after this semi-final game. It says it in the back of the book. And so even though this is a very slow-paced book, the tension building, because you know something bad is gonna happen. I flew through this book. And then after the thing happens, you're like waiting for the fallout, and then you know something else bad is gonna happen. So in terms of writing for tension and anticipation, like this author did such a great job of that. Like in the worst way though. I mean, it was in the best way. I was eating it up, but like I felt so frustrated, mad, angry, sad, just all the horrible feelings. And you know how he kept me reading? He made me fall in love with these characters. He gave such depth to so many characters. There were probably like 20 characters in here. They didn't all get like a perspective, but there were just so many fucking characters in here, and I cared about all of them so much. Some of them I hated, some of them I adored, some of them I wanted to protect, some of them I wanted to literally kill. Actually, quite a few people I wanted to kill. In my book at one point, I said this town needs to burn, but even by the end, there were a couple moments where I was laughing with the characters, and God, I think in my vlog I said I wasn't sure that I was gonna pick up the next book because I didn't want to torment myself and go through that turmoil again. I have to do it. It's been a week since I finished this. I can't stop thinking about it, and I am not ready to say goodbye to these characters, but like, damn, why would I put myself through that again? I'm going to. The only thing that is keeping this from a 5-star is that the author uses these profound, quotation mark, one-liners. And you know what? They probably would be profound if he just let them sit and rest. But he would like start off the chapter by saying something like, let me see, loneliness is an invisible ailment, which like, yeah, true. And then like throughout the chapter, he says it more. And this happens like every chapter where you start off with this profound line, this line of truth. I think it's called an aphorism. I don't know how to say it. I've only seen the word. And then he repeats it at the end to like really give you a punch, except for no. I thought it was annoying, and I thought it was overkill, which sucks because some of the aphorisms were very good. They were very like underlinable quotes. But by the end, I was like, I'm not underlining that just out of spite, which yes, is a personal thing. So otherwise, I can't recommend this because it really did some damage, and I'm not even kidding. But I think it was excellently written objectively. I'm looking at my 2 5-star books this month, and it is crazy. These are my 4 5-star predictions. Objectively, very, very, very well written. Especially these two, like the stylistic choices, they're like phenomenal. And yet my 5 stars of the month are these two. I don't want to hear it, okay? You read these books and tell me they're not just a joy to read. I think I've come to the point in my reading where I can appreciate objectively wonderful writing, talented writing, but my level of enjoyment is going to surpass what I think about the writing itself. And I do think these were written well, or they wouldn't have gotten 5 stars, but they're not lyrical. They're not using a lot of figurative language. They're not like doing all these literary things, but like the things that they did for me on an emotional level. I'm an emotional reader. I'm just gonna admit it now, okay? This one was just fun. It had me on the edge of my seat. It gave me joy. It was fucking hot. It just kept my attention. I think the energy level, it should be studied. And on a writing point of view, I think that's impressive because a lot of times, especially in a romance that's really fun and flirty and goofy, let's just say, that energy really dies down almost immediately, or at least by the middle mark. And this one, it was just up, 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 up. It stayed up there the whole time. I can't even think of another book that has this level of energy up all the time. Now, I was ovulating, okay? And when I ovulate, I think this is another romance that I gave 5 stars while I was ovulating, and it also felt like a super high energy book, and my energy was up while I was reading it. I do have a vlog. I was so fucking hyper this day. If you don't know, this is a story about a woman named Allie, spelled A-L-L-Y, not A-L-I. She is a trauma nurse. She is very, very busy. She works very, very hard. She doesn't have much time for herself. And in the little time she does have, she likes to watch these thirst traps on TikTok, specifically of this masked man. We also get a POV from the masked man. This masked man is named Josh. He's met Allie before. I guess I won't tell you how because it's not on the back of the book, but you find out almost instantly. He finds out that she has been commenting on his anonymous TikTok. Like no one knows that he does this. He gets intrigued by her and he decides, this is where it's like, okay, if this happened in real life, no. But it's a book. It's a book. Let's say it again. It's a book. He breaks into her house, films a TikTok on her bed. Oh my God. She's at work. This girl should not be watching these at work. And this is funny. I gotta reread this, honestly. She sees at work that his background looks a little different. And in the moment, she's not looking too hard, but she comments, oh my God, I have the same comforter. this girl. And then she gets home, his mask is on the bed. And then she goes into realistic mode. She gets like her gun out, blah, 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 blah. Anyway, they end up hooking up, okay? They end up falling in love. He still hasn't revealed himself. And the secret identity part is so fun. And it's also because it's like not a huge part of the book. It's kind of like just a side thing. And the way that they play around with each other, like it's that Friends episode where it's like, he knows that I know that she knows that I don't know. It's just so fun. And then this turns into a super action-packed romance, a thriller romance. I was not expecting that at all, like the level of action, and I love that in a romance. It's why I am obsessed with mafia romance. This author just did it right so well. I can't speak. So yeah, just a fun time. And like, damn, I'm so glad I read this. And then my favorite book of the month is The Wall of Winnipeg and Me by Mariana Zapata. Oh my gosh. Now see, this one is not the same as Lights Out. This is a slow burn romance. The payoff is so good. And so the plot of this, we have our main character, oh god, I forgot her name. Her name's Vanessa. She works for this famous football player. I think she's worked for him for 2 years. He's like never said hello to her. He doesn't say hello to many people, but oh, there's some guy outside my window. We're about to make eye contact. Hold on, I gotta go. LOL. So yeah, he's very grumpy, but he's also just kind of quiet. But he's also a fucking idiot. And that's like a weird thing to like about the character, or at least the writing or their dynamic. But it's one of those stories where someone acts like a fucking idiot and then they apologize. And I gotta tell you, it's healing. She ends up quitting. She saved up some money so that she can go into business for herself. She's been planning this for a long time. So she gives him her 2 weeks. He's just like, okay, make sure you tell so-and-so. And she was expecting a little bit more. But in those 2 weeks, he acts like a complete turd. And so she ends up walking off. And I think she ended up staying longer than 2 weeks. She said, I'll wait until you find a replacement. He says or lets someone say something that's just way too far. She walks the fuck out. I think a week or two goes by. This man, this famous, huge man that she talks about how huge he is. If that's something you don't like in an Allie Hazelwood book, you're gonna hate it in this book. He sat up in front of her apartment and he begs for her to come back. And he doesn't just do this once, he does it multiple times because she has a spine and she says, F no. Now, them going back and forth, him begging, her saying no, it was a little bit repetitive, but also, if you think about it, it is realistic. And then he proposes a situation for her. And I can't tell you what it is because it doesn't say in the back of the book, but from this moment on, I was like, oh, okay, this is gonna be great. It was a little slow until we got to that point. I'm not gonna lie. The rest of the book, they have a very slow connection. They slowly become friends. They slowly start to trust each other. He fucks up a few times. One of the times in my vlog, I think I said it, I was like, yeah, I'd never talk to him again. And yet I ended up loving him, and so did she by the end. And it was definitely one of those books where the tension built almost like invisibly, so that by the time they finally like just touch elbows on the kitchen table, it's like a lot of times when I read a slow burn like that, it almost fizzles out before they actually get together. This one was perfect. So I thought this was excellent pace, excellent romance. Oh my god. And because we don't focus on romance most of the book, we get really into this main character's story and what she's building for herself. We get into her family life, and something else I really loved in here was her talking about how she had foster parents, but it wasn't like this big deal, and the foster parents weren't like demonized, which I see in so many books. And as a person who loves their foster parents after moving out of their house, that's something I love to see. Like, yeah, it's just this thing. And like, she does talk about like why she has foster parents, and she's still in contact with some of her family, which like, girl, cut them off. Sorry. But she doesn't really like stress these people who are her foster parents are like her saviors, but they're also not like these horrible people who mistreated her. I just like that this was something that she needed when she was a kid, and it's just a part of her life. And god, I felt really seen in that. That was great. Her birth family though, frustrating, stressful. Something else that I loved in this book that makes me question everything is in particular whenever he like made some sort of claim toward her, like whenever he said my girl, or I don't think he ever said you're mine, but like you're my girl, something like that, which is something I cringe a lot in other books. For some reason it really fucking worked in here, and every single time he said it I was like and I fear that psychologically this is rude. Like, is this telling me that if you treat someone oh god, this is actually bad. If you treat someone with so much distance for so long, you can just do the bare minimum and it gives great payoff? I don't want to read too much into that, but it worked. All right, I think I've babbled enough. It's so funny. Every single time I do a wrap up, I'm like, what am I going to talk about? I'm just going to like show the book, say the rating, what it's about. I talk for so long. I guess that's why I have a booktube channel. As always, if you've read any of these books, give me your opinions, the good and the bad. If you don't agree with me, I fully understand. I'm almost annoyingly open-minded, so don't be shy. I don't know that I'll be reading books like with higher ratings in the month of September, but I hope I have less expectations. If you have any tips for lowering your expectations, again, I don't want to read too much into that. Please let your girl know. I hate it. I hate it. I'm gonna go read and vlog now. I'll see you later. Goodbye.